Welcome viewers to today's session of Gyan Darshan. In today's session, we are going to talk about writing a synopsis. Writing a synopsis is part of the course BANE 154, and that course belongs to the program Bachelor of Science Honours Anthropology. The program is housed in the discipline of Anthropology, School of Social Sciences. Bachelor of Science Honours in Anthropology is a 3 years degree program, and the course BANE 154, that is Desertation, is in the 3rd year in the 6th semester. Now, what is dissertation? Why do we write a dissertation, and what are the steps in this course? This we will be talking about today in our program. But before that, let me start off with a small introduction to anthropology. What is anthropology? Anthropology is the study of human beings, that studies humans in time and space. When we say time, it is across the geological time scale, and space as in geographical spaces. The beauty of anthropology is that it studies human beings, not only what we are doing in the present, but also about our past. Anthropology is interested to know how humans evolved, how the evolution of society and culture began, and how we study the present. For all these things, what we are interested in is that we try to trace our evolution, and also we try to trace the evolution of society and culture through the study of the past. How do we study the past? The past is studied through its material cultural remains that are there embedded in the art or anywhere else. So this is an important aspect of anthropology. And why is it important to link the past to the present? Because until and unless we link the past to the present, we would not be thinking about the future. For example, today, as you know, in Delhi, there has been a heavy shower, and that has been going on for a long time. And this is, of course, the monsoon period, but such heavy showers were not recorded. And if you remember the shower that happened a few days ago, it recorded a minimum of 225 mm of rainfall. Why did that happen? Because we are cutting trees. Our environment is changing because of the human activities on this planet Earth. And these are some of the aspects that we discuss, that we talk about in anthropology. Now, anthropology has both theory and practical papers. And in theory, what we learn, what we do, we try to take it forward in our practical papers. And one of those practical papers is your dissertation. And what is the most significant aspect of a dissertation? The significant aspect of dissertation is that it has the component of field work. Now, let's come to what is field work. Field work is when the learner or the researcher would go into the field to understand the problems of the human beings, and then try to find a solution also, based on which the writing of the report would take place. Now, why do we need to go to the field? Why is it important to go to the field? Because, as I had already stated, anthropology is the study of human beings, and human beings cannot be studied in a laboratory. We have to study human beings where they are, in their own time and in their own space. That is why anthropology is the study of human beings in time and space. And to understand the human beings, we have to go and live with them in their own environment. We cannot bring them out of their environment and put them in a laboratory. That is why field work is very important. Now, what comprises a field? Where is the field? The field is anywhere and everywhere that we have human beings. Wherever there are human beings, that space becomes the field. For example, if we talk about geographical spaces, it can be a city, it can be a town, it can be a village, it can be an urban space or a rural space. Now, among these spaces, where do we find human beings? We can find them in the village setup, or in the institutions like a factory, a educational institution, a office space, a corporate office, a government office, anywhere. Wherever there are human beings, those areas become our field areas. Likewise, today we have human beings operating in the virtual world also. We have so many social media sites, we have so many activities happening in the virtual world. So those spaces are also being occupied by human beings. And these spaces can also be studied under anthropology. And these spaces can also become your field spaces. But the process of having a field, going for a field work and doing a field work on a virtual space is different. So there are different tools and techniques that are to be employed for these different spaces, right? Now, why is field work important? Why do we need to conduct field work? Now, let's take a very quick and small example. For example, if I say, today I am not feeling well, what does that imply? It can be I am not emotionally feeling well, I am not physically feeling well, or I am generally feeling a little lethargic. Now, until and unless you as a researcher speak with me, talk to me to find out what is wrong with me, what is happening with me, you would never get the answers. Like if I am supposed to fill a survey form, the only thing that I will write is, if the question is, how are you feeling today? The only answer that I will be giving is, I am not feeling well today. But that is not the end of everything. That is just the beginning. So if you are sitting with me face to face and you are questioning me, interviewing me, asking me questions, you will get deeper into the reason for why I'm not feeling well. So that is why in anthropology we emphasize on field work, where you are actually there with the human beings, talking to them, living their lives and sharing their experiences, so that you can get a first-hand experience of how things work and how things happen. Now, giving you a gist of this dissertation, now let us move forward to how you as a learner is going to go forward with completing your dissertation. There are many steps while you are doing the dissertation. The first and foremost step is that before you start working on the field work or going to the field, you will have to write a synopsis. And how do you write a synopsis? To write a synopsis, first of all, there are two different ways, there are two different approaches that you can go about it. One, you think of a topic yourself, select a title and then prepare a draft synopsis. And thereafter, you look for a mentor who can help you with fine-tuning your synopsis, your ideas and your thoughts. However, if you are not sure what you want to do, as you know that in anthropology we have different branches: physical, biological anthropology, social and cultural anthropology, then we have archaeological anthropology and we have linguistic anthropology, and you are confused about how to work on your dissertation. So what you can do is, you can first approach a mentor, have a discussion with a mentor, what could be done best in your situation based on your interest. Interest is very important when you are going to the field, because you have to be totally involved in the activities that you will be doing in the field. So you can have a good thorough discussion with your mentor and then select a topic and then move forward with writing of the synopsis. Now, in Bachelor of Science Honours in Anthropology program, the course Desertation BANE 154, it is very important that your synopsis is being signed by a mentor. It has to be done under a mentorship, under the guidance of a mentor. Now, where would you go looking for your mentor? The first space to approach is your own study center. You can visit your study center and then there you can meet your counselors who are counseling for anthropology. With a research background, you can approach those counselors, one of them to be your mentor, and based on that you can complete your synopsis. Now, we get many queries and questions also that we are not finding mentors in our study center. So how do we go about it? In such a scenario, what we do is we encourage our learners to write a draft proposal first, but before that you have to read the manual to understand the various steps that are there in writing the synopsis. So you write a draft proposal and send it to the email ID BSCANH@ignou.ac.in. And there you write that you have not been able to find a synopsis and you have not been able to find a mentor, and based on your understanding you have prepared a draft synopsis and a mentor may be provided to you. Now in such a scenario, what we do is we read your synopsis, and based on the title of your project, for example, if it is on migration, then we would try to look for a mentor who can mentor you with the topic migration, and accordingly the mentor details will be provided to you so that you can directly contact your mentor and start off with your dissertation synopsis writing and dissertation writing process. Now, once you find a mentor, what are the steps that you need to follow? What are the things that you need to do? First of all, have a discussion with your mentor regarding the topic of your research. What do you want to work on? As I stated earlier, anthropology is about human beings. So you will have to take a topic that concerns human beings, that concerns their queries, their problems, their issues, and so on and so forth. Now, to give an example, let's start off with understanding. Say, for example, you're writing a synopsis on migration. Now, what are the topics that you can choose from within the topic migration? First of all, you would have to understand what is migration. Why do human beings migrate? Why do people migrate? The reasons behind migration, and also when you migrate to a new space, a new place, what are the difficulties that you face? Now, the migration also can be of different types. For example, migration can be seasonal migration, and this happens in big cities when from small towns or villages people engaged in agriculture, when after sowing the seeds there is not much work to do, they come to the city to find temporary employment. And this is called a seasonal migration because they keep moving on and off. They keep going back to their native place for their agricultural purposes, and then they again come back to the city. This is seasonal migration. Then there are types of permanent migration also. It may be because of your study, because of your employment, because of your job, because you are not finding a particular kind of a job that you are looking for in your hometown, so you move to the bigger city for employment. So that is another type of permanent migration. So when you're thinking about the topic migration, you need to first pinpoint what you want to work with. Are you going to work with seasonal migration, or you are going to work with permanent migration that happens in the in different sectors? So which sector are you going to take? That is also important when you decide on these aspects. And then the universe of study and the unit of study. Now the universe of study for this case would be migration, because you are going to talk about people moving from one space to another. What would be the unit of study? The unit of study would be the particular group of people or the community of people that you are going to focus on, with whom you are going to have a direct one-to-one interview or direct face-to-face interactions for your data collection. So based on that, you decide your universe of study. For example, I am from Delhi, and if I am to take migration as my universe of study and I want to study something on migration, I would take up the unit of study as something that is, say for example, closer to my university, because I am working, I have to come to the university every day, and in between also I'll have to do my data collection. So I will look for a locality or a space where I see either students coming in from different places, staying there there and for their studies, or some labor forces that are coming and working in the sector, in different sectors, and take their interviews also. Or even I can take up the interviews of the rickshaw pullers who are there. They are also mostly into seasonal migration. So within my space, within my say university, the closest areas are Maidangari and Nepsarai. So I might select a space, either Maidangari or Nepsarai, to conduct my field work. Likewise, once you have decided upon the topic, the universe of study, the unit of study, next comes literature review. Because without literature review, it is very difficult to pinpoint on your objectives of study. You have to have certain objectives. Why are you studying migration? What would be the outcome of studying this migration? So for that, you have to first understand what is migration all about, why people migrate, and for all these things you will have to go back to literature that has already been written, the anthropological point of view on migration. And for this, what we call is the literature review. Based on the literature review of the different aspects of migration, you would prepare your objectives. Why do you need to do literature review before you present your objectives? Because when you read the literature, you will see that there are certain gaps. Say for example, if migration, there are n number of work on migration in Delhi, but if I read the literature review, I might find some place near my institution where there has been no work done on migration. So that is the gap. So I can pick up that gap and take that as my study area. So to understand the gaps, what has been done, what has not been done, and what can be done, for these three purposes you need to conduct literature review. And that is how you are going to move forward with your work. Once you have done your literature review, you will be able to find your aims and objectives. And objectives are to be very specific. And for a dissertation, when you are putting in the objectives, you have to be clear about how you want to conduct your study. And it is this objectives that you are going to write is going to reflect how you are going to move forward with your study. Now, once the objectives have been identified, once the topic has been identified, what next goes into your synopsis? The next aspect that will go into your synopsis is your tools and techniques, methods of data collection. How you are going to collect data in the field. To collect data in the field, first of all, you will have to conduct field work. For dissertation, field work is compulsory. For dissertation, you have to conduct primary data collection and also secondary data collection. But you cannot submit a dissertation only based on secondary data. So for that, you will have to conduct field work. It is compulsory. And how you are going to do your field work would reflect through your data collection tools and techniques, the method that you choose. Field work as a method you can select, and within field work, what are you going to do? The first and foremost tool of an anthropologist is observation. As we call it, participant observation. And when we talk about participant observation, that means that you are going to spend your time among the people, extended period of time among the people that you are going to study, and collect information on their everyday life. For example, if I am to collect data on the Gramin Seva pullers who are always there in front of our university gate, I can take a observation. I can conduct observation on them by watching them every day, by interacting with them, by watching them every day, how the Gramin Sevas are being worked, what is the pattern for the Gramin Seva, what are the timings for the Gramin Seva, and if they have a community of their own, if they are, how do they ply on those roads? What are the terms and conditions that they have? Because there are n number of Gramin Sevas that are plying on that road. So is there a kind of a organization behind them who manage them, maintain them? So these are some of the things which I can understand through first observation, observing the pattern of the Gramin Seva on the IGNOU road. Then secondly, slowly and slowly, what I can do is I can start interacting with these people, and that would be part of my rapport building. And rapport building is very important if you are to do a field work, because if you just go and ask somebody, what are you doing, why are you doing, in this age and in this time, there would be 101 questions. Why am I being asked these questions? There would be a sense of insecurity, and nobody is going to answer your question. But if you slowly build a rapport, talking to them every day, meeting them every day, trying to understand their daily routine, you would be building a rapport among them. And with this rapport, you can finally start off with your interviews. And interviews, and when we are doing field work, is face-to-face interviews, which are basically informal interviews. You do not need to take a prior permission or timings and everything. But sometimes if you are going to talk to a Gramin Seva, say driver, who drives the Gramin Seva, then you might have to take a time from him, because he has time when he cannot devote to your interviews. He will be plying on the road. One way of doing with this work would be to sit with that person in his Gramin Seva and take the route up and down and see the kind of interaction he has with his passengers, with other people, and in the meantime ask questions also. But before all this, you must also remember that there are ethics while conducting interviews. So whomever you are interviewing, you have to be very careful that you do take prior permission. As of today, we take written permission from the person concerned that he is being interviewed, and he is okay with being interviewed, and whatever he presents in his interview can be used for the dissertation. This is very important aspect, and as learners, as students, you have to be aware of this ethical consideration. And so once you have decided on your tools and techniques, then you can move on to your data analysis. How you are going to analyze the data, that also you have to present in your synopsis. You have to give a part of it. Say if you are going to use some software, say SPSS, so you have to say that you are going to interview so many people and their data would be collected and their data would be processed through the use of software. But when we are doing qualitative data, most times we do not use softwares, but we analyze those data, those interviews, and that is why we take either case studies or life histories during such data collection. So these are the different aspects that have to be mentioned in your synopsis. And once the synopsis is prepared, is ready, you will have to get this synopsis signed by your mentor. And it is not that only after you have written your synopsis that you will give your synopsis to your mentor for their signature. But throughout your synopsis writing process, you have to be in touch, you have to communicate with your mentor what you are doing, how you are writing your synopsis, because as a learner there might be many loopholes, and these loopholes can only be checked and rechecked by your mentor, and your mentor would be in a position to tell you ki, this seems a little out of place, you can replace this with that or so. So that is the kind of guidance the mentors provide you. However, do not expect your mentors to write your synopsis or your dissertation, because the mentors are there only to guide you how to go about writing your synopsis, how to go and visit the field, or how to present your data while writing your dissertation. Those are the help that you are going to get from your mentor. But writing the synopsis or writing the dissertation would be entirely your activity, your work. It is the responsibility of the learner. And the most important thing is the work has to be an original piece of work. You cannot copy paste from other people's work or from some other online surveys or all those kind of things. You have to be there in the field, you have to work in the field, and you have to present your own data. This is very essential because in anthropology, field work is the hallmark, the backbone of the discipline. And until and unless you involve yourself in field work, it would be very difficult for you to understand anthropology as a discipline or as a subject per se. So So this is very important, that it has to be an original piece of work. So before we wind off, we are running short of time. Let me state once again what are the things you need to do for your synopsis. For synopsis, select a topic, find a mentor, write the synopsis, and then the most important thing is where and how do you submit your synopsis. For submitting your synopsis, you have to submit it via email, and the email ID is BSCANH@ignou.ac.in. For the course BANE 154, which is part of Bachelor of Science Honours in Anthropology program, the synopsis has to be submitted via email, and the email ID is BSCANH@ignou.in. And once the synopsis have been approved, via the same email ID, you will receive an approval letter, and once your synopsis is approved, you can go to the field, conduct your field work, complete your data collection, write your dissertation, and finally, after getting signatures from your mentor, you can submit this dissertation in your regional center. So this is the entire process that you have to follow for your course BANE 154. Thank you.